So you guys all heard that, right? Trying to pull it together here. Yeah, a few things unexpected came up. So this is our reorganization meeting. So first we have to elect all the new people, or reaffirm the old people as well. But in the meantime,
yeah, we do have a few things. I think Jess Delavella had sent out some pieces regarding the tuition contract and
question.
You want to do that now?
Yeah, let's review. So, well, we don't have to vote on it right now. We're going to review the tuition contract. So as you know, we went and we met with Kennett and the other sending towns that we still are going to move forward with some set of Kennett. But in the meantime, we're going to look at what we as Jackson people may or may not want to do. So there's interest for us as a school board, we'd like to get together a subcommittee of people in the community to help us investigate what are our options for our potential and our current or potential high school students coming up. So what options do we have? Is it Freiburg? Is it Gorham, homeschool, whatever it might be, and the costs that go along with that and those types of things. So I'm really looking for people who might be interested in helping us explore that. It's not going to be a long-term committee. It'll be a committee that'll be tasked with certain items to do and bring back as far as investigation goes and gathering information, and then some listening posts with the community to make sure that the community at large is up to date with what we have and information. A little bit of history might be in there as well, and then that would be about it. You know, they would have to make a choice, obviously.
So for those who haven't been here when we've done presentations, if you go to the SAU9 website, and if you were to click on the MWB Cooperative School Study, or you were to just type in tuition contract, there are a number of presentations in there, and there are some pieces that could help you understand better what's happening. So I'll start off with, this is the first document. At the top it says tuition agreement timeline, and it gives you some information. In the first part is the right out of the tuition contracts. All the tuition contracts are on the SAU9 website as well. So you'll see the attendance commencement minimum term. It's a 20-year term. When they wrote it, they thought it would start September 2006, and for the high school, it actually started 2007. So if you follow that within, it does talk about there are key dates. So at the bottom it says critical dates. Spring of 2003 was when they were signed. Then there was a Conley Special District bond vote in 2003. First bond payment was 2004. And then it talks about build for the bond, and we can talk about the different formulas. On the back side, this is really the key point. It says new high school completed and occupied in 2007. And then below that it says to exit the agreement at the end of the minimum term, notice must be given by June 30th, 2024. Okay? If notice is given, the final termination would be 2027. So there is an obligation to Jackson and all of the towns that are in that tuition agreement to be in that partnership until 2027. So there are some key dates that you want to take into consideration. And that is, like I said, 2024. So that gives you about a year and a half to really start making some decisions. As Jen said, there was a cooperative study committee. Now that all the boards have been reelected and they'll be reorganized, that committee decided not to go with the cooperative, but started to take a look at tuition agreements. And that will get started later this spring, probably in June or so. So this was handed out in January at the budget time. And this is the second document here. It really kind of explains how the town of Jackson pays their tuition to Conway. And it's based upon two different things. One is equalized valuation, and the other is ADM, or your average daily membership. So you pay based upon those two factors. One's 35%, the other's 65%. And you can see historically down below, there's a 5-year trend there, talks about what percentage of your high school population is Jackson responsible for. And you can see it fluctuates 3%, a high to 4%, 2.96%. And then down at the bottom is equalized valuation. So you'll see that 8.5, 8.7, 8%, 9.13, and sometimes it depends on when the towns go through their assessment. And then you can see on the back side just the different school tax rates for all the towns within that tuition contract. So we can go into a little bit more, but I think we should probably start this meeting because you're in limited time. The board good with that?
Yes.
All right, so seeing as this is the reorganization of the Jackson School Board, I will call the meeting to order. The first order of business is the election of chairperson. Is there a nomination for?
I nominate Jen.
Jen, is there a second?
I second the
Okay.
nomination.
Are there any other nominations for chair of the Jackson School Board? Seeing none, is there any discussion at this point? All those in favor of Jen and Sully as chair of the Jackson School Board, you need to vote.
Okay, sure.
Okay, 3-0. Your meeting, Madam Chair. Yeah.
All right, moving on to election of vice chair, which Kate currently resides in. Are we allowed to nominate Kate again?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Okay. Without her being here.
Without any hesitation.
All right, any discussion?
No.
All those in
Did you
favor?
get first and second?
No.
You second?
Yes.
Okay. And you made the motion?
Yeah, you can just put them in randomly.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right, set meeting dates and times, third Monday at 6 p.m.
Yep.
Still work for everybody?
Great.
Yes.
All right. Motion
To
keep meetings for third Monday at 6 p.m.
I second that.
Thank you. Favor?
Aye.
Okay. Adopt rules of order, agenda format. Continue with Robert's rules as best I can.
second.
Favor? Committee assignments, I say we table that until next meeting.
Yes.
I'll have people review it during the month so that we can come prepared next month.
The list is in
The
the
list is in the agenda.
board packet.
Yep. All right, manifest. Good with that, right? Okay.
Yeah, who signs typically is Jen, Kate,
Chair.
and Darrell is the alternate. So
Okay.
it's a committee
Great.
until people want to change.
All right, approved minutes from 3/3/22.
Second. All right, I make a motion to approve them.
Second. All those in favor? Citizen comments? Thank you all for your patience with this, by the way. Thank
Could
you.
you explain why?
Yes, that we didn't have a quorum, so.
Okay, but also that I just, people know I was not here because we thought I could attend, and not because I'm a delinquent school board member. Okay.
No, and then after she called to say that, then someone else on the board called to say they weren't gonna be there, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
So, anyway, here we are. So, thank you all for coming. Tish?
Do you have copies of the agenda? I made a copy at home, but I don't think people have copies.
No.
Just if you.
We're trying to go paperless for the most
Yeah,
part, but they're
okay.
sent out, but yeah,
Okay.
next time we may have some more.
Does anyone know? Yeah,
Do you want everything?
it's right on the town
Yeah.
website.
Right.
You go to the town.
You came
I'm
to
not
second.
changing.
But if we're gonna have people show up every time, we'll have a couple.
Yeah, I'll bring 10
Yeah.
copies.
Sure.
Yeah.
This would be lovely.
Yeah.
I don't bring a paper copy. It's just-
I just had a question in
Yep.
regards to this high school, looking at the high school, et cetera. Knowing that the state of New Hampshire, the governor, and, they're now changing how schools are funded, and that people can opt to send their kids to a school outside of district, I think. I don't know how it works, but what if someone decided in this school to send their kids to other places? Does it come out of the school budget?
I would have to know the specifics of what it would work. So, for example, in the tuition contract, there's a certain percentage that Jackson's supposed to pay. I think it'll all change. It has. It's kind of the wild, wild west right now. So if somebody were to say, want to go from here to Gorham High School,
Yeah.
okay, the school board, they could, I suppose, say that they're going to do that, but they could be in violation of the tuition contract as well.
So it's a school board choice. I didn't know how it was gonna play out.
So I have a tiny little district, Hart's location, and also Hale's location, the incorporated town. They are not part of any tuition agreement.
Yeah.
So they can declare and they can pay. Part of the deal is they've had kids go to Freiburg Academy, sometimes they go to Kenner High School. It's just really difficult to predict the tuition rates for that, but they aren't part of any agreement moving forward.
And that's all the stuff, to your point, Tish, that we would look into. You know, updated rules come down the line, the procedure, all that stuff would be with the committee.
Okay.
So investigating all that, because it changes
Yeah,
all
it
the
seems to
time.
be changing fast. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But parents could take advantage of that educational voucher, the Freedom Savings Account.
Yeah.
So if they wanted to go to a Gould Academy, and they could get the voucher to use to go to Gould Academy if they choose to.
That's what you were talking about.
Mhm.
That was your-
Mhm.
Can you still do superintendent's agreements? Is that still a thing anymore?
What's that?
Can you still do superintendent agreements?
I can't because of the tuition agreements,
Okay.
right? So there are some places I can, like Hart's location, that could work. But these 20-year agreements really, and that's going to be the conversation moving forward, is how do you develop the flexibility to allow for these things? And it's kind of 6 of one and a half dozen of another, right? So if you're Conway and you're going, geez, how do I predict my staffing for next year? And if it's that fluid, it's going to be tough. Some districts will say, here's what we will pay, bottom line, $17,000. If you decide to go to a more expensive school, that becomes incumbent upon the parents to do that. There are a number of districts that do that. So lots of options, but and all the communities, I think, are really looking and they're shopping around because it is different. It is different. The key is you are obligated for educating your children. So don't get into the Croydon, New Hampshire situation, please, because that was a nightmare going on.
That was certainly not my intention.
No.
Any other questions, comments right now? We have another opening later. Still not there. All right. In the essence of time, I'm going to move through, I'd like to skip down to reviewing our budget so that we can review the updated budget, Gail, and then move on to being able to approve it so that we can advertise. There's a lot of stuff in here.
So just for, while Gail's getting her thoughts together, there was a reduction to the proposed budget at the annual meeting, and the reduction was $100,000. So the school board they're the authorizing agent. They have to then go back and they have to determine how the budget was developed. So even though monies may shift later on, for the adoption of the budget, you have to account for $100,000 less. And they have to be very specific. So the administration met with a couple members of the budget committee, and these are the recommendations for the board.
Okay, so you have the packet, FY '23 proposed general fund. I don't think it's in everybody's packet, but it was all sent. You'll notice in the far column, the first column here, or the second to last column, was the original budget before the budget hearing. And this blank column on this first page is where you'll see the changes that I've made in the budget with Kevin, Pam, and the personnel at the SAU 9. So on page 1 in the regular ed budget, there's minimal changes there. There's some supplies and personalized learning money to a total of $585 there. Left, the special ed budget, co-curricular budget, after-school guidance at current levels. As you'll see, hopefully throughout this, I tried not to take money from any area that would impact students and or staff as well, other than one exception, and I'll explain that later. Special education, so that's intact, the SOL, co-curricular, after-school program, guidance, those were all intact. On page 5, under health services, I had originally budgeted for a 50% nurse. We've reduced that to a 20% or 1 day a week position, which saved us about $18,000. I've left psychological testing, speech, occupational therapy, all mandated services under IEPs, so those needed to be left where they are. Under the improvement of instruction area, that is where I had proposed to meld the technology and library media positions to one full-time position, so there's a lot taken out of here. What I essentially did is remove that new position and go back to what we had before. So we've got 16,000 saved for technology, library media salary of 5402. You can, if you had it in front of you, see there's a good amount of money, $76,626 saved there. I needed to add back in enough money to contract for technology support, and also $11,000 added back in for the 1 day a week library media position that we had had prior to my recommendation. School board services left the same all the way down. Let's see, we're on page. On page 8, we had budgeted $10,000 for strategic planning. I've taken $5,000 from there. Our strategic plan is just about done, so figured that we could save that. The office of the principal stayed basically the same with the software and equipment and other things that fall into that category. Operation and maintenance of plant, for the most part, salaries are intact there. The only place I cut was $10,000 from contracted services and grounds, which was concrete floor for the pavilion and sealing of all of the driveways. Pupil transportation, there were no savings there, I think. Did I get all of them?
Yeah.
Yep, so all of those changes resulted in $100,000 coming out of our budget to meet the will of the voters.
Thank you, Gail. I know that was a lot of work, so thank you. All right, so at this point, we'll make a motion to accept those changes.
That would be, yes, so we should make a motion.
Motion to accept the changes to reduce the budget by $100,000 for the coming year.
I second that.
Good. All right, all those in favor? All right. So with that being in place, now we can move on to voting about the openings, correct?
Yes, yes.
I know we're jumping around, but I'm trying to say
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Nominating the personnel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the election. Is it under the election of personnel?
Yeah, election of personnel for 2022-23.
You guys know. My computer wants to.
You need mine?
That is, I'm sure you.
Yep, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, all right, great. So, any questions or anything, or a motion to elect and approve the personnel for 22-23?
Yep, I motion to approve the personnel for 22-23.
And I second that motion.
All right, any questions? Discussion? All right, all those in favor? Good. So Gail, now we can move forward with advertising. Yeah, and then we need to, good, okay. All right. Let's move right ahead. Consider approval of principal's contract for 22-23.
Make a motion to approve the principal's contract for next year, 22-23.
I second that motion.
All those in favor? Great. And unfortunately accept the retirement of Gail Dombrowski for June of 23. Somebody else has to make a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Gail Dombrowski.
Retirement.
With retirement, yeah, that's right. With regrets. Sorry to see you go in June of 2023.
Next year. All right. All those, Mike,
Second.
all those in favor? Thank you, Gail. Discussion.
Thanks, tons, Gail.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling us now that that's your plan, so we can all work together to,
Right,
See what happens
it would be really helpful to have a good amount of time to make
Yeah.
a seamless transition, to find out from the community, you know, what, I know you've worked on a strategic plan, and now just kind of pulling that together to.
yeah, it's awesome.
Forward
It's
on it,
like
so.
a huge testament to how you have been a part of this community to share that and for us to all work together through that, so thank you.
She's been here 15 years already.
Amazing.
I guess while we're over here, so FYI, the budget status report, are we good with that? Good.
Yeah.
Consider donation of Friends of the Whitney Community Center.
Make a motion to accept the donation.
Second. I don't have to draw.
Do we have to-
it, but, all right, all those in favor? Kevin, please consider general assurances terms
The
required.
general assurances are, because you receive federal dollars,
Right, okay.
we have to make sure that we go by the federal guidelines to accept. And that goes through everything, non-discrimination notices. If we go out to bid for certain things or bidding processes. So it's about 22 pages worth of assurances. And it's in your packet, but we do this every year. Basically, they've gone to the boards to make sure that you know, ultimately, it's our responsibility to make sure that happens, but.
And I'm pretty sure I signed it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, do we need to vote on that? No. Right? No.
No.
And then
Did they
consider-
vote on that?
Yeah.
They did.
We do?
We have at other boards. Let's just do it just in case.
I make a motion to approve our general assurances terms and requirements.
Sign.
Sign and approve. Okay.
I signed it.
And I second
You
that.
can s-
I heard sign it.
Okay, right. I just want everybody to know what we're doing. It's once a year,
No, that's
so.
good.
Consider recommendations for budget reduction. We did that already.
Yeah.
So section 8, expenditure.
Yep.
So where are you going now? You going back to policies or you going?
This is more exciting, it's just
I
kind
know,
of,
right,
we're kind of like
right.
jumping around, paying a lot of attention to
Yeah.
what's happening.
No, I'm just trying to make sure we
I
get
know, I get it.
everything
I'm
in with you. Okay. So we could do the, you know, the reading, first readings, I guess. We have time.
So if you make a motion
Yeah, let's do it all.
to accept all policies 6A through 612 or 613.
Yeah.
13.
And then if you have any questions, you can
Perfect.
pull them out and speak to those.
All right.
But somebody would have to make a motion to that.
Motion to accept for first reading of policies 1 through 13.
Second.
Any questions? I'm not going to go through them all.
No, thanks for the work on it. I know it's been
Yeah.
such a behemoth for you guys to update all those.
There's really none in here that should cause alarm, you know, that we should really need to talk about at this point. So I think we're good.
And we had the second reading coming up, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, all those in favor? Moving on to second reading. Thank you. Kevin, we're up to you.
I really don't have a tremendous amount to report on, other than, the COVID numbers kind of popping up a little bit. We were lucky for a month and a half, 2 months, at single digits throughout SAU 9, moving up a little bit, and we're still doing SATs testing every week for people who would like to do that. That's a good thing. We are seeing, not so much in Jackson, although some, the attendance rates of students this year. It's really been an impact on, the number of students who've missed 10 or more days or 20 more days for a variety of reasons. We're seeing that COVID's going to have a long-standing impact on our community, and there's no doubt about it. And the number of disruptions that have taken place over the past 2 years is pretty significant. So as much as we've done, I think, about as best as we could, keeping kids in school, they're just these pieces of disruption. And it's for a variety of reasons. It's not all COVID related. Some people are, tired. They're taking advantage of the resources that are out there. But it is a concern that we do have throughout the district. Other than that, just like I said, reorganizing all the school boards. We have an SAU 9 meeting coming up in a few weeks. They will reorganize, and then we'll start tackling tuition contracts and some of those other big pieces. So that's really what we have right now.
Kevin, I don't mean to put you on the spot, I know it's the case, but with the absenteeism, how are the teachers handling, making sure the kids are getting the material they need? Because we're not doing remote anymore.
Yeah, I think we're not doing remote as we did do remote, but I think there's a lot of flexibility on how students are receiving their education, which is kind of new rules, right? And we were remote, we aren't remote, and we can learn through the computer. Do we have to be here every day? Parents can pull their kids out. We've seen, I think, a lot more vacations that people are taking during the school year than we ever have before. If a student goes to different schools and has two teachers out, 3 teachers out, there may be a little bit more reluctance. We haven't dug in real deep on that. But, the gaps are still there. I think that it's just going to be one of these things that we're going to have to continue to work on. The curriculum is still accessible, so they can still do that with Google Classroom back and forth. It's just a disruption. It's not as effective or as efficient as if you were there every day.
And what about funding? Is that still in play? Like if there's not enough school days, some of our funding might be in jeopardy? Yeah,
no, we've been pretty good about, we missed one day. Hopefully the weather will be okay tomorrow morning, but you folks in the Highlands here. No, funding is just, the state is changing the way that they're allocating the funding, which it's all over the place right now. But you shouldn't see too much of a disruption.
Just curious.
Gail, I'm going to have you pass these down. Talk about COVID mitigation. Speaking of rates going up slightly, we're also looking at the end of the school year coming and some transition activities and things that we feel are really good for kids, and want to be sure that the board is aware about some of the things that we are considering. We already have multi-age classrooms working together. We've gone back to having our lunches combined. We have 2 lunches. We haven't gone back to 1 yet, but now we're back to 2 lunches. So the 5, 6, and the K1 have recess and lunch together, and the 2, 3, 4 has their lunch and recess together. But we are also inviting in some special guests, and we have after-school program, which now includes anyone who signs up. We're not grade limiting that any longer. We have an artist, and we're doing a theater program right now, and we'll have Laurie Stearns come and do some mosaics with us to try to finish off the posts of the pavilion like we've talked about for quite a while. And then the K1, we started inviting some parents in to see student work. So after vacation, what I'd like to do is return to the all-school meeting format where we have parents come and join us for that. The 6th grade class has been attending and needs to attend a few more transition activities over at Bartlett with their peers at the Bartlett School. There'll be an SAU9 track meet involving all of the schools like we have had in the past. There's an overnight field trip. Mike Dufalo is taking our 5th and 6th graders up to the Zealand Hut, and so they'll be doing a 2-night overnight there. And going back to maybe having all school recess outside all together again. I've also included a list of the specific events that we are aware of at the moment that will be coming where students will be mixing again. So I wanted to be sure the board had asked that we notify you and families when we were making those decisions. So I just wanted to get your blessing on these events going forward.
It looks awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks for all the care.
So I think, just to be clear, I think we should vote
To approve Gail's
to
plan.
approve the adjustments suggested for May 2nd to the end of the school year.
Absolutely.
All right.
I make a motion to approve Gail's plan from May 2nd to the end of the school year.
Second. All those in favor? Excellent, thank you.
Thanks for the work to get people back together and
Yeah.
doing it safely and the patience with it, for you and the whole staff.
You're welcome.
It was so much fun to watch all the kids, and one student came and he said, Mrs. D, this is the first time we've all been in the same place together doing the same thing. It's like, you're right, it is. It was awesome seeing them singing and dancing together, and some sense of normalcy again, so that's exciting.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I have another packet, which I'm thinking that some of the folks out there are awaiting a proposal for configuration for next year.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So I propose that we do a K1 as normal, 7 students, K1 here. We'll have 14 students in a 2-3, and I propose to have a standalone 4th grade with the 13 3rd graders together, and a 5-6 with 11 students. I've gone ahead and looking at our projections for kindergartners. The tricky year will be the following year, when, again, we're in a similar situation that we were this year with, if we do a 4-5, there'll be 21 students, and if we do a 5-6, there'll be 18. So what we, after talking with the staff at length, we looked at a K1-2, we looked at a whole host of different options, and given the children and their needs, we're feeling like doing something similar to what we did this year would be the best option, again, going with a 4-5 and a 5-6. And the 4-5-6 traditionally does a lot together anyway. They'll do all their social studies and science content together for the most part. And what's worked out really well with the 3rd grade, the 2-3 and the 3-4 this year, is that Margot and Delaney have both worked really closely and done groupings, shared instructional groupings across all of the grades, so that kiddos get their reading and their math in either grade-specific or ability-specific kind of grouping, some flexible grouping going back and forth. So it's been good for students in that respect. And I have some mixed groups for reading, and the assistants take some mixed groups to support them. So it has been an effective model for reading. And I threw another year on it because somebody had asked me for 3 years. It's kind of far out at this point. A lot can change between now and 24, 25, but That is the year we can go back to the standalone sixth grade based on what we know about the names and the numbers that are in our classroom right now. We base the decisions on the faces we have in front of us now and the few preschoolers that we know about in our community.
It looks good. I mean, you always do the best that you can, and it always works out well for the students, so, and the staff, so thank you. I know it's a lot of juggling.
It is,
Yeah,
but we have
and
a
a lot
good
of thought
staff
goes
and they're
into it.
really committed to making it work and finding out the best way to give them what they need.
Yeah, that works well.
Helps to know in April. I mean,
Well,
helps
it's
to
for the
know.
staff and the
For
families,
staff.
right, and who you might be getting,
Start to think about things you're gonna do and
right.
things that work this year.
And just so that the parents in the audience know, we don't do staff assignments till later. I'm in the middle of the evaluation of our staff at the moment, so those all have to be completed before any teachers get assigned to those groups.
Thank you. Anything else, Kim?
Nope.
I'm good. That was a lot. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to board member issues. So committee reports, and we did the personnel, we moved the
Yeah,
liaison.
we'll just mention, because we put together that ad hoc committee for the after-school enrichment
Yes.
committee, so that started, so we've had one meeting. That was really good, and we're gonna have another one later on this week. So I will share minutes from all that, and our team will for the next meeting.
Okay,
But, yeah, we're moving through the plan.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Consideration for the Jackson School Board Strategic Plan. I still think we have some more time between the goal, and I'd like to do that as a full board.
Okay.
So if we have a meeting on May 2nd and or the one before our goal setting session, I think we'd be fine with approving it.
When's our goal setting session? We
The
only have one
31st.
meeting before now.
Well,
Goal setting.
we don't need to have the May 2nd one, right?
No,
Okay.
wait a second.
Yeah, sorry. I should-
Okay.
May 2nd.
So I think we'll have the May 16th, right, is the next one.
So we'll place that under old business.
Can we do that? I think
Sure, that's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, because I know, yeah, I think it would be, I'd like to have the full board say yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
okay. All right. We have already
I think you
done
should
that. Yes.
take a vote, even though it's done electronically. The
On the-
ad hoc
on the ad hoc
enrichment,
committee?
yeah,
Yeah.
it
Okay.
makes sense to
Maybe someone else
make a
should
motion to
motion since I'm the one who
establish
suggested.
We'd like to make a motion to establish an ad hoc after-school enrichment committee.
And I second. And I second that.
All right. Look at that, it's already done.
Good.
All those in favor? Thank you. All right, next date is May 16th, 6 PM. We'll start at 5 PM. It's our joint board meeting in Bartlett.
In Bartlett.
Yep.
Yes.
Good thing you told me this.
It says
That meeting's on May 3rd.
May
May-
3rd,
oh.
we meet in Jackson.
Oh, sorry. So May 3rd.
Not
we
the
meet.
16th.
It's usually before the other one.
Right, you guys switch every other meeting, you'll host here
Yes.
prior to your board meeting. So that's why this is Bartlett's turn, they're hosting it before their board meeting.
So, but then do we come to here
No.
for our board meeting?
Nope.
So May 16th.
No, May 3rd, we all just go there.
Okay,
And then May 16th, we come here. So May 3rd is a joint board meeting only.
and May
in Bartlett.
16th is a school board meeting.
Yes, that was my, sorry.
So if there are any topics of conversation, let Jen know or myself for the Bartlett-Jackson board meeting.
And I'm on that joint board committee, so.
We'll be bringing forth the tuition contract to take a look whether you want to continue that with Bartlett or not. That'll be a topic of discussion. If there are any changes.
I'll send out an email
I
to all
checked
of us
those
too.
committees done
Okay.
yesterday.
And the goal setting is the 31st.
Yep, 1 to 3, yeah,
At 1.
1 to 3 o'clock.
Yep.
Great. Citizen comments? Jessica.
Hi, so just two things. One is, I noticed tonight was the first night that the materials were posted on the SAU website. Is that something we can expect will continue? Because that's something that's been hard to access, so yes?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And then the other thing is with regard to the exploration committee, can you just clarify for me, when are you looking for people to let you know, who should they let know, when would it be starting, and can you give us any more details about that?
The high school one?
Yes.
As soon as possible, so I would like to send out, as we've done in the past, to send out cast our net wide into the community, because I would like more than just parents, would be great to have, some people who have knowledge of the community in large, or just ideas, and who want to contribute some time, but not necessarily get involved with a whole school board initiative, but would like to do some civic kind of duty into the community. So I'll send out a message usually through the e-news as well as through the school news to say if anybody's interested in being on this committee, please let me know. And then I'd like to have those names within the next few weeks. You know, a good sized committee would be lovely, the more the merrier. Because the whole point of it is to educate the whole community on what our options are and to investigate our options, obviously. So look for that, but if you are interested now, I hope you are.
I'm in.
Yeah, yes, perfect. Then yeah, and then rally some friends as well. So that's how we'll do it. So obviously, the more people that are interested, the better off. And if they're interested, they'll work, so, yeah.
And then just as, I know that Kevin, you did a really great job with the bigger group posting everything on the SAU website. Will there be a location where folks can go to get the materials and see? Because that was something, I feel like I understand the website and I'm fairly good at finding things. I really did struggle to figure out some of the dates, which is what prompted the email that Joe and I sent to you all, because we were trying to figure out when, we don't want to miss a date that we would need to know about as a town. So, and I know you guys are on top of it, but obviously as taxpayers and parents, as we told you, this is really important to us. So will it be posted publicly? Will updates be posted, things like that? Or is it up to the committee, or how will that work?
I would look to the committee for help with, in conjunction with the superintendent and the SAU 9 as well as us. And I would say that the Jackson information would just be posted on the Jackson, like our school website.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as resources, yes, we can't be at every town's, because it's all over the place. And these folks have, and it might behoove you to reach out to other districts that have been through this process. And I know there are some templates that they've used as well. Yeah, if we get the minutes, we can post them. It'll say committee reports.
Yeah.
And
And I'm actually just hoping that Jackson will follow the SAU's model, because I just found that very easy. When I went to the SAU website, it said like collaborative committee, and everything was there. So it would be great if that was on the Jackson, but whether it's the Jackson Town website or the SAU, however we do it, just a place where people can find the things, because it's very hard to hunt you down, especially when you're not even sure what some of the words are,
Absolutely. Great.
Emily?
So along that note, I was just actually searching around. Is there a place where the amended budget can be found?
it will be.
It will be.
Yeah, because
After the posting.
you can take mine right now if you want.
Okay. But this, yes, the fact that the meeting's going on and all these resources get posted.
I'm sorry, pardon? Sorry.
That the meeting's going on, and then once we go through this, this would be posted.
It becomes approved, yeah.
Yeah, we have to approve it. We just approved it right now.
On SAU 9.
The Jackson budget will be on the Jackson.
It'll be under
Yeah,
Jackson.
yeah,
Jack, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So if you go to school boards and then under
Right,
Jackson.
that's, okay, that's, and just one more thing, I just want to commend Kevin, you and Katie for doing that eggs and issues for the Mount Washington Valley Economic Council. If you all didn't see that presentation, it's excellent. Speaking to the high rates of absentee, but just all the things like before COVID, coming into COVID, after COVID.
Yeah, we tried to tell like a story and
Oh, it's great.
just really kind of a real emotional, going through from
Well, that's, I was thinking, like,
February of
just
2020
how it
through.
all rolled out. So, thanks. And for anyone who missed that time period in our lives. Relive it all again.
Yeah, I have a question, just going back to this,
Thank you.
the high school choice thing. Are all the sender towns on the same timeline? Oh, really? Wow, okay.
For the high school.
For the high school, right.
And then there are other agreements. The elementary is actually a year ahead,
Yeah.
so they have to make some decisions next year. But that doesn't impact you folks.
But
Then you
if some
have-
other boards already started, some other, did I see Freedom might have started, or,
Most of them have.
oh, they have already?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they've been part of, Jen and Darlene and Jerry were part of that cooperative. It's really the same type of conversation back and forth, changes to the agreements, and every time there's a winner, there's a loser, depending upon whether you're a little town like Albany that has, a much higher number of students, 100, but they have no equalized valuation because 85% of Albany is national forest. So they want it to be based upon equalized valuation, where you folks in Freedom go, hey, we have a really small number of students. We want to pay the ADM instead of being assessed on equalized valuation. So some of those pieces.
A lot, yeah. Jessica, did you have your hand up?
Oh, I was just gonna ask, I know informally folks have started in some towns making decisions. Has anyone given any formal word?
No.
No.
Okay.
There's so much to investigate.
Yeah.
Any other comment? We have no non-public?
No.
We've hit everything on in record time. Thank you, Micah. Anything else? So we're gonna adjourn the meeting. We're good?
What happened to Lauren? That was on your
We moved her to next, she's gonna be in May,
Oh, okay.
only because it was last minute.
I know, I kept hearing it, I thought, oh,
I
I
heard
heard
somebody had to
Yeah, we heard sounds behind us, and it was like,
No, 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 no.
I'm thinking somebody's gonna be.
Say one thing, I felt bad that they, she was gonna come do a presentation and it was just gonna be at the time.
Okay, so I was kind of came to that too.
And we just found out at like 2 o'clock, so it was too late to.
I want to just mention one thing, which is from our last meeting, I've been doing a lot of thinking and talking to many of you in this room about ways that we can up the level of civic engagement at our, throughout this school year, and when we have our school board meetings, but also when it comes down to the wire and we're in that voting process. And so I've been putting together a document of sort of what can happen in January all the way to just so that we can step by step think about how we're getting information out, how we're making sure that people know that if they watch something by Zoom, they can't vote. All these different things that I think that we learn through that process. I think that one thing that's really cool about Jackson is that we want more people, right? Like when Jen said, hey, the more the merrier, come and talk about this tuition contract. I think there's some upgrades that we can take. So I'm gonna put that together and share that with the
Great.
board and hopefully open source it. And really it's something I'm doing as a school board member, but it's for all of us to think about how do we do a better job with this and have more accord and have more buy-in and participation so that we can be making these choices and feel like people are excited for them. So stand by.
Then we'll have more, along the same lines, just trying to get people to be more engaged. I know that the minutes, they're required to be a certain way to go out, looking to see if somebody in the community would mind also taking the minutes or coming to the meetings, and just maybe putting it in a different fashion as to an overview of what the meeting was about. That's more.
Yeah, the TV too.
Yeah, we have this, we have 200, just a little bit more, I don't know, engaging per se, or conversational, so people can easily read it and go, hey, I might be interested in that, or I know my friend Mary, she's got a kid that might want to know about this. So just some more ways to communicate with the community at large. And then we also have 200, I think it said 200 after.
Yeah, 200 people watching.
After.
I think that was very telling. The one night I also had to watch Jackson Flicks myself, and I was 60 people had been on or something. So that's great, that you don't absolutely have to be here to understand what's going on.
But you definitely need to be here if you want to vote.
I understand that. But I just think that, for people that want to get information and then, don't have to, stop their dinner hour, it's a good way to be able to still participate and come out. And I think too that seeing Joyce here and Tish here and, people have background knowledge that, maybe, I certainly don't have only lived here 6 years. I don't have that history of things. So I think sharing that with us, not to say that things were done, 30 years ago is the right way to do it, but just kind of having that background knowledge and, giving us some ideas of, of things that you've seen work or not work. And those things are really, I think, important. It's certainly important for me to get that kind of input. So I appreciate that.
I have one more question. At what point, now that we know that Gail is retiring in June 2023, do we put together a steering committee to look for a new excellent principal? Because it seems to me that given the current hiring climate and what educators are going through, that the sooner the better. So can we, Kevin, can we do that now? Can we say like we want to make sure in May?
Well, I think if you did it now,
Yeah.
you'd be pretty far out. I think gather some, if you want, I can put together a timeline and present.
That'd be great. If you could do that, that would be excellent. Because I think we want to make sure that we're.
Steps that you want, when
Yep.
you're gonna advertise, when you're gonna.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Could you do that for our next meeting? So that we could be,
What's that?
would you do that for our next meeting in May?
I certainly can.
Wonderful.
Word will get out. Word will get out.
No, but there's a timeline that we should follow as well as gathering.
Yes.
Our goal setting session, I think would be the ideal time to
Yep.
start.
But yeah, that'd be great to just have that in front of us, Kevin, so we can.
Yeah,
plan for
heard
it.
that timeline.
It'd be a big deal.
All right, all those in favor of adjourning? Meeting adjourned. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thanks for nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean. Yeah. No, this is, I can still go